Why did I press delete to start the video instead of F12? Hey there everyone, it's Cow, and yeah, we're doing the Patapon stuff. Lots of big, huge blocks of text to read today, so I'm just gonna, without much preamble, just gonna get right to it and start off with Mikofire asking, well, stating that you would publicly commit suicide just to spite me. Obviously, and that's the rudest thing ever. Anyway, how was I of Argon? I don't know. I have a soft spot for things done in earnest that are just bad, and it hits that spot. And I'm glad you opened up my eyes to that. Like, I know a lot of stuff about a lot of media, like more than I think I would, considering how little I actually consume. But like that's something that's way super out of my wheelhouse. And yeah, you opened my eyes to a brand new world to explore. I still have yet to actually read The Eye of Argon, which I really want to do. I'm trying, it's just that I need to find the time for it. Right now, my reading is occupied by a book that was relatively recently released. Band of Regrettable Superheroes. It's super good. It's non-fiction. It's a compilation of a bunch of superheroes type books and stuff that never really made it, that were not successful, and it's super great. Read it if you can find it somewhere. Let's start with Pizza Pony as usual, asking a bunch of stuff. Below in the brackets is just a little explanation to my reasoning for asking about money video stuff. And I wanted to keep the brackets because I think, I don't know, we tend to be sort of like in disagreement about this, but I want y'all to know where he's coming from. So my idea isn't so much that a person would be paying for the entertainment, but the money would serve two purposes: to act as a small barrier to prevent the flood of requests and to filter out bad games. After all, a person wouldn't want to waste an amount of dollars just to watch a video of Raukau going, ugh, and would more likely put forth a good game that Raukau hasn't played before, at least in theory. As for being wary of charging money for entertainment, is that kind of like what are we Patreons already doing? I'd say I find these videos entertaining, between quotes. But lastly and most importantly, it is only a suggestion in your future to ignore it, change it, discuss it, work it, break it, fix it, etc. Their end goal is entertainment for both us and you, with the added benefit of additional profit. After all, you do need a better computer and perhaps a capture card at some point. So you think it would put down the filter on the quality? All it would actually do is that people would put down games that they like without necessarily taking into consideration the quality of the Let's Play. I'm going to put down as an example the high ranking that Paper Mario had, even though I have urged people not to vote for it, and that I am pretty steadfast, and I'm pretty much sure that it will make a poor Let's Play in the type that I do Let's Plays of. And that's normal, and it's okay, and I'm not angry that, people would just vote for things that they like, and that's normal. I just think that, I don't know, like, I just, history shows that, hell is paved with good intention, it would just basically guarantee, like, I don't, like, some games have been guaranteed that all has been good, and others it has been bad, and, like, it would still be probably the same ratio there. It's just that, it would have cost people more. The only way I could see myself doing something like this, like, okay, adding money to the thing, is that, yeah, there could be a higher ranked Patreon field where you're guaranteed, like, an express lane thing, but I just, at the same time, like, I want to keep my barrier of entry super low. I know that a lot of my viewers are younger, like, they skew younger, so I don't want to charge. I mean, like, okay, you want an example of what I mean? Take Linkara. Like, dude opened up a Patreon, and if you donate a certain amount, you're guaranteed to, you're allowed to give something to have reviewed. And I mean 100% of all his, or maybe like, except for like one maybe, of his for sale reviews have been terrible. I don't want to fall down that trap. I don't know. I don't know, man. Anyways, here are his actual questions. Right, does it look like Bishing's a quote from Pulp Fiction? Of course, if you would know it or not, you know how famous that scene is. Music. Basically, I saw Pulp Fiction in French, so whoops. And he wants me to play this song thing in the background, which I suppose I will do. Let's just set this up here because these are by far the most professional parts of everything that I do ever. World of Warcraft. Strange choice, but okay. So, his actual questions. Have you ever had the fear that one day you will develop multiple personality disorder and old man video game Cat Planet Either Charlie Arcow will be the dominant personality and you will be helpless to prevent the monkey cheese from stewing out from within you? No, this has never been a fear of mine. I have to assume this is asked more in jest, but it's not really a thought that has occurred ever, and I sincerely doubt it's gonna be a thing. 2. You say you have bad memory, yet when you see names in Maga like Stu, you near instantly remember the previous levels they had created for the past contest. Explain. I have a good or bad, like, memory. I have a good memory for concepts, have a terrible memory for names and numbers. Like, if you just want to, like, bring it down to the simplest thing, that is a... it's just that, you know, I have a bad memory because, as pertains sometimes, you know, when I mention it in the video, that's because, you know, I'm referring to something in particular, because that's just not something that gel. But there are things that I will remember very easily. But, like, everyone is like that. Like, we're good at certain kind of things and terrible at others. And that includes memory. It's a very complex chemical thingy going on there. So yeah, it is terrible. It's just not for everything. It's occasionally terrible. 3. Could you try to say some of your notable past quotes, catchphrases in French, with as close to the same emotion inflection as they were originally said? Feel free to add more than the ones I list. My knowledge of French is low, so some may be said the same as English. Okay, like, hey there, Charlie would be, et toi, Charlie. Cat Planet would be, Cat Planet. That one doesn't translate well because it's just too long. Planète des chats, planète des chats, planète des chats. It's too long. It doesn't work. Video games, those don't exist would be jeux vidéo. Ça existe pas. Is existe pas if you want to use a pronoun, I guess. Like, it was no thing. Comme c'était rien, which is an actual expression that I literally translate. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. C'est vraiment bon. C'est vraiment bon. I don't know, that emphasis in French I always feel is super awkward sounding, which is maybe a weird thing to say. I'm pretty good at video games, by the way, would be. Je suis pas mal bon dans les jeux vidéo, en passant. I can tell you that using words of the English language. Ça, je peux te le dire en utilisant des mots de la langue française. Of course, there I replaced English with French because, you know, you gotta play along. 4. You are now thinking about the bones underneath your skin, pushing out at all corners of your body, grinding together at the gristle every time you make the slightest movement, and the blood gushing through every inch of your body, faster and faster as your heart beats with added repetitions. Your breathing becomes deeper and faster to try and keep up while your stomach churns its bile together with your past meal to make a stew of slop and acid. The nerves within your brain crackle and pulse as you try to comprehend these meanings, when suddenly you realize you have finished reading aloud this non-question. The answer is the American economy. Tell him, Manzal, you missed the second question I left. I dare you. This happens a lot, I'm aware. This is the risk you take if you give me a big block of question. Here it is, quoted verbatim. Since you aren't interested in playing Spelunky HD, care to share your opinion of it? Were the shiny new pixels and content worth the effort spending on the original? Basically, the big difference I feel with the remake, like Spelunky remake, is that it makes items a lot more common to get, like the guaranteed shops and whatnot. Like in the original Spelunky, you do not get items very often at all. While in the new one, the HD one, you're guaranteed to have a pretty good loadout at the end of the game if you go through a whole run. And that's the biggest difference. For the rest, I mean, yeah, it's a lot more polished, it's a lot more feature complete. I just think that's an incredibly big variable that no one really seems to address. Or maybe they do, and I just never really noticed. Like, let's be honest, I didn't, like, go out of my way to read stuff on Spelunky. But yeah, like otherwise it's a really good game. It's just you know, and I like the whole hell thing. That's super neat. And I guess it's the fact that us items are so occurrent and all that yeah, it makes a hell run makes sense, whereas in the original Spelunky, survival is much harder. Like, a lot of people started playing the game of Spelunky using HD and they thought it was so hard, but like, you got resources coming out of your ears, which just does not happen during the first one. So yeah. Anyways, in order to make up for this grievous oversight, I invoke my patron power to request and they demand that you read a full text of War and Peace on camera in the original Russian and French. Alright, let's do this. It's gonna take a while though, sorry about that, but I don't really have a choice. Alright, where's my create a tab button? There we go. Well, I guess I'll start with Russian, considering there's, okay, so there's well, it's been Russian. Alright. Alright, here. Peeps, get your seat warm. Oh, hey, it's from French here for some reason. Whoa, I am confused by the language going on. Well, I'll just read what's there, I guess. Eh bien, mon prince, Gênes et Luc ne sont plus des apanages de... I don't know what that word is. De la famille Bonaparte. Non, je vous préviens, si vous ne me dites pas que nous avons la guerre, si vous nous permettez encore de pallier toutes les infamies, toutes les atrocités de cet antéchrist, ma parole, j'y crois, je ne vous connais plus, vous n'êtes plus mon ami, vous n'êtes plus Russian, comme vous dites. Then there's a bunch of Russian again. Why is this half translated? Je vois que je vous fais peur. I don't know what here it says. Be nerbom snyaya haho zblijio od kathriatbker a kwahahar hakim sbidakme hinagvtag be in puktax to be ash hospnabd helmamayamo Ababanone bi Haktorim Knae Toyotak Tato Heo Hoksogmo Okitai Kliktak Osig Kabubi H Hafnabde Hom Yamikyo Hamam October. Whew! That was difficult. I hope that, like, I could hear a time portal pass nearby. I hope that it didn't interfere with the video in anywhere. If it did, I apologize, but you just cannot control time portal out there in the real world, unfortunately. And later that is all. I recently learned that the International Phonetic Alphabet does have two symbols for English TH, those being this thing and this thing. For the different pronunciation between then and the, one being voice and one not, colon small p. Of course, the point it being kind of mute because neither of these are actually used in written English. That was your fun fact of the day that I put here. Pengu Penguinton's all, "Oh cow, my mom says thank you so much, I love it," in reference to the Black Bunny art I did last time. Ask him if I can use it for my avatar. Yes, you can use it as your avatar, Pengu's mom. Thanks so much for doing this so fast for her. You've just earned 4 hearts of affinity with the Pengu Bunny Empire. My question for this week: if you were to pick a fruit, article of clothing, and historical person to represent your feeling about Star Tropics so far, so once it's over, what would they be? The Runion, because it's prickly and it's weird and it's uncomfortable, but there's good stuff inside. See? Historical to represent your feelings about Star Tropic. Mary Curie, because it is, it's alright, but if you spend too much time with it, you become radioactive and probably ill. An article of clothing, mittens, because that way I do not feel like chewing out my fingers. And it feels like you have the dexterity of mittens while you play the video games. Easy life. Japio Zal, is there a particular pixel art style you like a lot, either from a specific game or a sprite you're a fan of? The guy who did the game, what's it called? That guy, Scott Pilgrim video game. The guy that did that, I don't know his name, but there's a whole lot of animated pixel nonsense under their name. Some of them is not safe for work, so be careful if you want to look. But yeah, it's super good. It's super good. But foreshadowing here. I have terrible memory for names, and it's like it's a foreign name too, so I don't remember what it is. But it's that person. Thank you, person whose name I forget. We used to have that letter in English, talking about the fillet. Old English had the letter thorn, which looks like a P uppercase and B lowercase to make the in math. Icelandic still uses it along with another Old English letter, F. Oh yeah, which makes the in them. Alright. There we go. Linguistics. Sorry to burst your letter bubble. Question time. Imagine that you can resurrect one extinct species. Which one do you pick? Anyway, you can answer the question, what's your favorite extinct species? Don't know a whole lot about extinct species. And I mean, it feels like kind of a jerk thing to do, to play favorites. Like, yeah, of all the extinct species in the world, you are the only one that may benefit from this because, you're, I could only save one! Dodo were hilarious, but do they deserve to live, I don't think so. No. Dinosaurs, they're pretty cool, but probably a bit dangerous, and I don't know if they would be able to live due to the difference in air quality we have between now and then. So, what's left exactly? Maybe an ancient version of man. Like one of the pre-caveman races. I mean, I think we could learn a lot from that. So since it feels like a rude thing to do, to choose a species just because it's cute or neat, I will go with the historical perspective. Either that, or the behemoth, the biblical behemoth. Just to know what the hell they're talking about. That would be pretty rad. Yeah. What am I even saying at this point? Gregory Cocola's all, which would you prefer, infinite pie or infinite cake? See, when I first read that question, at first glance I was, well, infinite cake, of course, because there's a bit more variety in cake in reference to pie. But then I thought, wait a second, Cal, pie technically includes pizza and, like, calzone stuff, so could have infinite dinner and dessert? Yeah, I think the answer's obvious there, right? Of Of course it is. Melon Pizzas all. Have you ever tried Splatoon? Bought it? I went over to a friend's house the other day, tried it, and I think it's super fun. What do you think of it? I've never played it before. I talked about Splatoon a bit earlier in another one of these, and that I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad that it has the success that it has, because it's a new IP by Nintendo, which doesn't happen very often. And it's an amazing take on the concept of a first-person shooter by making the focus not necessarily shooting people, and even then when you do, you don't necessarily kill them, make them spin around and disappear, which is totally different than dying. And I like the art that it brought out on the internet, because there's a lot of, clean but dirty art. Because it portrays dirty things, but in a clean way, and like a lot of the official art for Splatoon is like that, and that's just super neat looking, and it makes me happy. So yeah, I'm glad it exists. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but I'm glad it exists, and I hope it has a lot of success, because it seems to. Of course, when I say that, I know there's it seems to be a successful game. There's a certain amount of relativeness to it, because the numbers on the Wii U owners isn't super great, but for what it is, I wish it turns into something big. It is my sincere desire and apology. I don't know why apology slipped inside there. It has nothing to do with anything. But yeah. Zipto's all. As for question, let's say a miracle happens and we get Guilty Gear Xrd for the PC. It also happens that you can play it on our toaster without upgrading anything. How fast would you buy it? Probably as fast as I would be aware of this. I really like to play the new Xrd, but it's just that, I don't have a PlayStation 4. And I can't afford an arcade, so it's just not happening right now, alas. The Lovely Penguins, all out of Mario, ROM hacks, or SMBX games you have played. Which is your favorite? Which is your least? And why? Favorites are probably in the VIPs, except now it's kind of muddled as to which one is my favorite. VIP 5 is probably the best in terms of just raw quality, if we're just going by the numbers, except it's really still unstable and kind of to do my Let's Play, I had to change emulator twice going through it to go through everything, and that's not the kind of thing that should be rewarded, but the game itself is super good. But because of that, I might have to scale it down to number 4, maybe. Second Reality Project is up there. Haven't really thought about it enough to know if it goes against one another. I'm just glad and happy that there are all excellent games, and there's no really any need to put them all in the blender. There's no need to have an exact amount of favorites or not. Just games are good. That's great. That's really all we need out there. In this big stinky world. Enjoy things. There's no sense in just putting down ranks on all. And what's my least favorite? This is probably a game I haven't played. Let's be honest here. I don't know, of the games that I have played, the irony of it is that it's probably a ROM hack that I've played, or an episode I played that I just don't even remember. Unless I remember it for not liking it, but I don't. This is not happening right now in my head. That Japanese ROM hack that had this really terrible snow wind section in it that I was playing while I was playing OS. I guess maybe that would qualify because it didn't age very well. Brutal Mario, I wouldn't call it my least favorite, but due to the impact it had in its relative popularity versus the actual quality of it, which is fairly poor, it would be a contender, but is it my least favorite? I don't dwell on things I don't like, so I cannot really give you much of an answer there. Pyrosock is all, hey ho, Cal. I got a question this week. Wow! How do you feel about live systems in video games? For example, in Binding of Isaac as a bonus, Star Tropics as a penalty limitation, or in Super Meat Boy as infinite lives. Well, for the most part. Are there any particular life system that you think work particularly well or particularly badly? That's too broad. It is like it entirely depends on the game that you're making. Binding of Isaac, the fact that you don't really have lives other than as rare power-up is part of the game design because it is more or less a speedy roguelike. To die and restart with new items and features unlocked is integral to the cycle of the game. Super Meat Boy lives is entirely pointless, and that's what makes the game good. Those two are both exact extreme, and they both, are part of what make their relative game as excellent as they are. So it's all like context is king here, as tends to be the case, and as I often end up answering this question. In a game like Star Tropic, which you have mentioned in your question, I don't know, lives basically are meaningless because when you game over and when you die, no, actually, yeah, there is a difference. I was thinking of the last mission where it doesn't make any difference, but in the past it does. And yeah, that's just a hindrance. That exists just to make the game feel longer because it forces you to restart. And I mean, yeah, of course that's a bad system. No one is gonna argue that it's necessarily, well, okay, that's not true. A specific flavor of grognard will obviously say that, the classic style of you got 3 lives, and if you got game over, that's the y'all gonna start over. Some people will maintain that that's the best way, but have to remember that games in the past were relatively simpler and shorter at the same time, and it was, feasible to learn and whatnot, and there were shortcuts built into it, basically taking that into account. And again, it was always been a tool to make a game longer to beat. If you feel that your game requires you to die to give you enough satisfaction for your game, I think you might have to reconsider some elements. But that's me personally. Some people will obviously disagree. I don't know. I personally, if we're talking about no special conditions, I think that lives are an old thing. Not that many years ago, I did argue on SummerCentral.net while we're working on production 2 that they couldn't get rid of lives because the game would lose a little something. But my opinion has changed about that since then, and which is a normal part of growing older, and thinking about things thoroughly. Now, yeah, in most games, lives are meaningless and should probably are desuet. They don't bring anything to the table. Just consider how in many games I go out of my way to try to find a life farm or something, just so I don't have to be worried about that. I think that in itself alone kind of says a lot about how lives are treated in video games. I think maybe farts are great when you don't smell them. Meatball Riders all dear how I'm a powerful wizard / long-time internet stalker, and I have decided that your continued video game violence towards wizard kind is unacceptable. I think you should suffer at least 5 wizard questions in order to restore your reputation. Alright. 1. What is your favorite school of wizard spell? Summoning. 2. If you were to be a wizard, would you go with a traditional robe, beard, or hat, or something else entirely? I would be business casual wizard. Show some professionalism. Don't be afraid to live in the modern time. Just respect yourself. With that said, want to be casual? Great. If you're a great powerful wizard, technically no one should care how you dress. 3. If you gain wizard powers for a day, what will you do with them? Extend the day to infinity. 4. Who is your favorite historic wizard? Abraham Lincoln. 5. What is your favorite system of magic that I've seen in like one of those cartoons or video games you may or may not have enjoyed? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's my answer! What is your favorite system of magic you have seen in like one of those cartoon video? In other words, system of like, okay, so fictional or, system like the way magic works. Like in Darkstalker, where you just kind of do whatever you want. There's no real limit other than the limits of your power. You want half your body to be a chainsaw because you're a zombie? There you go. Just jump in the air and get it done. Like, technically it's magic. It's not wizards, but it's magic. So yeah, just, free ring, just do whatever. Just keep it simple, man. Do what you want. It's all willpower. In other words, Gurren Lagann. If you consider spiral energy to be magic, which it kind of is, there. The power of the will things into existence. Best kind of magic. Book reading, nuts to y'all. Just gotta want it. That's how it goes. Cole Walker. And lots of new people this week. Question. Seems you have mixed feelings about Metroidvania-style games. What are aspects from any series in the category that you feel are strong points? Like, what sorts of things do you like to see in that style of game, or would you like to see more of? Sorry if it's a silly or overly vague question. I've had vaguer, and it's not that silly. I'm gonna blow my nose, but because this is a Patreon video, you get to listen to it, instead of me, like, either editing it out or making it, like, slow motion. Oh man, these are the luxuries you get for your $1 a month. So, Metroidvania. The good thing about Metroidvania, plural, there's two things. It's the sense of getting stronger over time, that you start with a measly little egg. At the end, you turn into a multi-jumping killer bird with magic and teleportation and everything. The difference between when you start and when you end, the power creep that goes on your end, is what makes it ultimately, that's the ultimate carrot on the stick for me. It's the accumulation of strength, accumulation of options of what to do, accumulation, of tools, and just growing as this force of nature, I think is super neat. Another thing is that although exploring is fun, exploring extremely varied areas while still feeling interlinked together is the core, I believe, of a good quality, fun Metroidvania. If you want to go with a counterexample, Soldexus, although hits some of the getting stronger parts, like when you get the sword beam and stuff, in terms of exploration, everything in the game kind of feels the same. So you see, it has half the equation. But I think that it's not as vague. This is something I can give. I'm pretty confident in my. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with me with this. What people will disagree, perhaps, is what's an appropriate amount. Does a game if a game does make you progress enough, or its environments are too distinct or too indistinct, it can go bad both ways. But those will be the two axes that most people will agree on is what makes a Metroidvania. And, yeah. I know, right? Numberless username with 1. That's the joke. Ask, are you going to answer this question with a statement that means no? Obviously. Cubic Tom is all, hey now, Cal, your last chapter of Aricel was huge, like 56 pages. I know, and I apologize for that. So now that's 9 finished chapters, at least when AOD finishes writing text. Do you feel confident enough in the Aricel stories to publish them as hard copies as you did with the ATXS arcs? Also, what's your top 5 gets punched in the face between asterisks to indicate an action? Alright, the thing with that he said is that I do believe we have enough stuff to make a book. And honestly, we have thought about it. And honestly, I think both AOD and I would like to do it, even though now I hate the first chapter. But that's normal, and the second chapter also. But, you know, that's I guess that's normal. Whatever, I won't go into that. The reason why we haven't yet made them in the books is that takes a metric amount of ton of work. It just takes tons. You gotta get tons from the store. It's just that, it's because like we got right now our pages meant to be put on the internet, right? So if you want to put them in books, we gotta put them in a format appropriate for that, and just kind of like set them up, all the pages. Gotta resize all the pages so they fit on the book, and then you gotta be able to write proportion, gotta be able to write dimension, make sure it's facing the right place, put everything together. It's gonna have a zillion pages to do that. That has to be done one by one, and because, you know, that's how we roll, I would also need to create a handful of original art and stuff that we would include in a book. All this is a lot of work that I myself just cannot see myself finding the time for it, although I really would like to be able to. It's something we're looking into, of course. It's something that's gonna happen. I just cannot realistically give you a when. Thank you, by the way, for your interest. The comic part of my being is by far not my most popular one. It's always kind of funny, the contrast between the two. But thank you for the encouragement. It means quite a lot to me. Man, my lines are super slops. It's great. Doesn't help that I'm holding everything at an angle here. Good times, I know, right? See, this is the part that goes like this to give sort of an end to add depth, kinda, if you're not being too picky. Where are we here? Well, whoa, why did it scroll there? That's why I lost my place. There we go. If I do this, should be fine. Hey, we're actually getting... Okay, I was about to say, hey, we're almost getting done early, but then I looked at the time, and no, that doesn't qualify as early. Just a Gamer fans, a couple of things this go. Maybe you've answered this before, but who is your favorite of the Toho characters? I'd have to say Raisen or Koakuma would be my pick. Might include Mischievous T, just because Bunny. If you, Chibi Cow, and PPR were each to suggest an anime... Okay, now there's going into multiple questions, so I'm just gonna go ahead, go one at a time. Favorite Toho character? I don't know. Do I have much of an opinion? I really like Nui. Like, that's nothing new. I think Suika's fun. That's nothing new. I really like Suwako. She's kind of really silly and weird as she's depicted in the games, and that's fun. That's the characters I like. You know, the fun ones, the fun characters, because they're fun. Because if you're going to be a fictional character, I expect you to entertain me. If you, Chibikao, BBR, all and me, each were to suggest an anime, what 3 would they be? If I hadn't seen them yet, I just might give them a watch. I know you mentioned Excel Saga before, and that's one of them. I'll give it another try. Well, yeah, like, again, if you're serious about me suggesting things, Gurren Lagann, if you haven't watched it, it's worth it. And Sayonara Zetsubu's Sensei, if you're into humor. It is my favorite, anime thing ever. I think it's very good, and even though it's a comedy. Well, okay, there is embarrassing fan what's the word? I'm losing my words today suddenly. Fan appeal type thing, but it doesn't get in the way as much as a lot of as a lot of like comedy does. I don't know. I just really like that show a lot, and it's very easy to ignore the flaws for me. It's just weird and dark, but in the best way. You know, I like it a lot, and yeah, and I mean, technically, I mean, we got numbers. If you want to watch an anime movie, that's not necessarily like a full show, but just, you know, on the time budget of a movie, watch Redline. That is super great. It's a race story, but it's like hilariously beautiful. Fan service again. That happens once, which is unfortunate, but it's there. But otherwise, no, it is super good. It's the art. The first time I watched that, I was having a fever. Best idea I've ever had. Just putting that out there. And he goes on. So there was once a capital row. Surprised emoticon, which kind of brings me to this one. With their recent playthroughs, we've been naming the character Milk. Is there a story/reason behind it, or can it be summed up as the row being random row? There's not really any reasons. I thought having an ongoing thing would be funny. And that's all there is to it. And to answer your question about the background music, I kind of like just your voice, but as long as music isn't drowning you out or anything, I'd be alright with it. Oh yeah, I wanted to get back with that. Of course, not everyone responded, but almost everyone who responded was saying that they would rather not have music as a continual thing. So, there we go. A pleasant little surprise there, because that means less work for me. But also, I mean, okay, like, fair. That's why I asked. I had assumed most people would like some kind of background music. Turns out my assumption was wrong. Who'd have thought, you know? You know what happens when you assume? You put a moon on the floor. It's a small moon. Made of plastic. It's hollow. It's not very heavy. Atlanta now returns and says, you have mentioned that you don't often get the time to play games personally much anymore, which kind of makes me feel bad for contributing to the career that is taking up a lot of your extra casual time. Semicolon capital P. But do you see yourself ever taking short vacations again, maybe one-off days, to be able to play things on your own again? Hypothetical! Well, first I'll answer that. Honestly, if I'm given an off day, I'm probably not going to play a video game, but do something else, like read or try to find a way to spend times with my parents or something. Like, video games are more or less what I do for a living at this point. So if I have an off day, if I want to take some time to do something cool, I'll probably do something else completely. And to me, that's just fine. Hypothetical, as he was said, and it says in all caps, so you gotta imagine that I said that super loud. If you're invited to a dinner and are asked to bring a side dish, what would your food of choice be? Side dish. Garlic bread. That's such a delicious thing, and so many people screw it up or don't bring it. That's what I'm bringing, man. Homemade garlic bread. It's super good. Xerix! So now you've finished Star Tropic. Are you going to check out the no doubt ridiculous speedrun that recently happened on Summer Games Done Quick 2015? Probably, yeah. I haven't checked it out yet. But probably. See all I've missed. Then I'm gonna be like, and that's just that's all that's gonna come out of my mouth. I don't know how long. I can't imagine it being super long. And Momobo wraps it up for us today. Going all, assuming I didn't miss any questions, which could have happened, but assuming I didn't, Momobo's all. Do we ever watch any of the Awesome Games Done Quick / Summer Games Done Quick speedruns? And if so, have any of them jumped out at you? Also, favorite Magalex level to this point? I want to be the Boshi runs that happened in the past two Awesome and Summer. One of which was a 100% run, the other was the any percent run, were amazing to me. I Want to Be the Boshi is one of the single best fan games out there, and honestly, kind of, it's like everything I Want to Be the Guy tries to be and surplants it in pretty much every way. And seeing a person that just knows the game just casually go through it and like tell jokes and stuff is an amazing thing. And I suggest that to anyone who, has any kind of interest in watching people play difficult games. As for favorite Megal X level, so no level I have played yet in Megal X2 has supplanted my favorite Megal X level as of yet, which is normal. I will not tell you what my favorite Megal X1 level is, however, because that will be revealed on Horikawa's channel at some point in the future, but I don't know when. You'll see why or how or what exactly I'm talking about when it happens. I don't know how many of you are watching the retrospective Horikawa and I are doing on our channel, but yeah, we're basically, she's playing through Megal X the first, and we're both commentating, she's going through a lot of the behind the stage stuff. I talk a lot about stupid things and what I remember. We're being a lot more critical and whatnot. Anyways, I already talked about it before. If you're into it, her channel, Horikawa's channel, is Miss Otane, Msotane. And yeah, at some point it's going to be revealed there. Of course, no X2 yet matches it, because obviously we're talking about a top 20 level, whereas I'm still in the bottom 200 and change. So don't expect miracles. Yeah. So yeah, this is raocow. This was the Patapon video for this week, and next time we're going to eat grass. But only if you want to. I won't force you or anything.